Hello, it's Dr. Tingting Zhang. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to look at one of my favorite preludes by Rachmaninoff. It's in G major, Op.32 No.5. I remember the first time I heard this piece, I thought, wow, it's so picturesque. I can almost see an image right in front of me. I talked about this in my performance video of this piece. I'll link it below in case you haven't seen it. I felt the composer took me to an enchanting forest. There are small brooks flowing, birds chirping, and butterflies dancing around the flowers. It's a very nature-inspired piece. Another unique quality I found about this prelude is that the texture and the sonority of this prelude are very impressionistic. I know Rachmaninoff has nothing to do with French Impressionism. However, this prelude clearly has an atmosphere that resembles the dreamy quality of Impressionistic style. The sound has a misty quality to it, especially in the minor section, which reminds me of Monet's painting. So in my tutorial, I will go through the piece measure by measure and discuss several key elements, which will help you achieve a more artistic playing. Now let's get to the details. If you watched my other tutorials before, then you know I always like to discuss the tempo first, because it sets the tone for the entire piece. For this prelude, it's marked with moderato, which means medium tempo. I'm going to suggest a tempo mark for you. You can set your quarter note to 60 beats per minute. Let's hear it. Please keep in mind, the purpose of this tempo mark is to help you establish a basic pause at the beginning so that you know how fast you should play your left hand. However, throughout the piece, there are many places where we need to apply rubato, which means your tempo will change slightly according to the mood and flow of the music. So you don't need to practice the whole piece with metronome. That will make your playing very mechanical. Now, I would like to ask you a question. What does the left hand at the beginning sound to you? You might all have different answers. That's fine. The reason I ask this question is to encourage your imagination. You absolutely need imagination when playing a piece like this. It helps you to get the right sound. To me, this left-hand pattern sounds like small brooks flowing gently. Right away, we get a sense of tranquility. So keep your touch really soft and gentle and even. Except for the first note in each group, you need to hold them because they're quarter notes. I must say, this is not as easy as it looks. So you should start from slow tempo, get a good control and consistency of your touch, especially the thumb. No accent here. See this one? Be careful with your thumb. Instead, put your emphasis on the longer notes. See how my wrist moves? It helps to keep my hand relaxed and also make the pattern smoother. And because we have this pattern throughout the piece, I would say it's definitely worth spending some time to get it right. Next, let's talk about pedal. Pedal is so essential in this piece. Earlier, I talked about this prelude has an enchanting, misty, and dreamy atmosphere. Pedal is a very important tool to help us achieve the right sound. Now listen, you can change pedal at the beginning of every group, like this. dry and too clean to me. The notes need a lot of moisture. I prefer this. So basically, I held the pedal all the way till measure 3. And it doesn't sound messy or thick. I guess partly because we're in the upper register, which is more forgiving for the pedal. So try it on your piano and see how you like it. In general, I have pretty long pedals until measure 7 where the 30-second notes come in. Now I know there's one issue, or challenge I should say, that discouraged some of you from learning this piece. It's the polyrhythm. If you haven't played much polyrhythm, such as 2 against 3 or 3 against 4 before, then this definitely looks daunting. But I want to assure you, once I break down the basic principle, it's really not that bad. Here, the left hand has 5 notes per beat. The music term is quintuplet. And then right hand has triplet. That's 3 notes per beat. So we're dealing with a 5 against 3 here. How do you put hands together? The first notes in each hand always go together. Let me show you. I'm going to play the last beat in measure 2. So here both hands have E. These 2 notes go together. And there's no second note in right hand, so you just hold it. The question is when to play the third note in right hand in relation to left hand. It should go immediately after the 4th note in left hand, like this. So I'm gonna count for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And more 5 against 3 here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's how you put hands together for 5 against 3 here. I should also mention, in addition to 5 against 3, we also have 5 against 2 and 5 against 4 later in the piece. Now, how do you put hands together for 5 against 2? Let's look at measure 4. I'm going to start from the beginning of the measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. See, this is still 5 against 3. And next one is 5 against 2. Now, once again, the first notes always go together, okay? And then you want to play the second note in right hand between the 3rd and 4th notes in left hand, like this. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to play a little faster. I know this may seem complicated at first, but don't be intimidated. You need to understand the basic principle of how to put hands together for polyrhythm. And at the beginning, you do need to think and count. But after a while, it should become a muscle memory, something you don't need to think about every measure. And eventually, each hand will just go on its own pace, yet stay harmonious together. That's the goal. You want to free yourself, not to be restricted by this rhythmic division. In fact, if you listen to the recordings, many pianists actually play the third note in right hand together with the fourth note in left hand, something like this. So slightly earlier than it should be. They didn't follow the polyrhythm strictly, but frankly, it didn't hurt the beauty of the piece. So as you get more and more comfortable with the polyrhythm, be flexible, go with the flow. That is more important than playing the rhythm perfectly correct in every measure, but sounding stiff and rigid. After all, we're making music, not solving a math problem, right? Moving on, at the end of measure 6, we have a new pattern coming in. Right hand becomes more active, and it has a lot of 30-second notes. Once again, I would like to ask you the same question. What does the right hand sound to you? To me, this is either bird chirping or butterfly dancing through the flowers. It needs an extremely light and airy sound. To achieve this, I recommend treating these 30-second notes like an ornament or grace notes, so you need a very delicate touch. Otherwise, it will sound very thick and heavy. So you want to use your fingertips and keep your fingers really close to the key. And then go to the longer notes with tenuto marks. By the way, tenuto marks are those short, small lines written above the notes. And they usually mean we need to hold the notes to their full value and also slightly emphasize them. Now let me put hands together and I'll start from measure 5. And then I like to start the first group a little slower just to ease in. Then pick up the tempo. Towards the end, get softer and also slow down a little bit. I really like to apply some rubato to this passage to add playfulness and movement to the music. So... By the way, you also want to practice left hand alone in measure 7 and 8. Use your wrist to make it more legato and smoother. Also control your thumb not to make an accent. Pedal-wise, you definitely need to change more often for this passage. I'm going to show you how I changed. So I basically changed at the beginning of every group. So on every downbeat. Change, 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 change. to the bass. And then here the theme comes back. Slightly different from the first time. Now, this bird/butterfly section also gets developed. From measure 17, a melodic line has emerged from the left hand here. It would be really nice if you can bring it out. That means you want to keep your right hand really soft, like pianissimo. Always stay in the background. Now, let's look at measure 19 to 22. These four measures are really interesting to me because you can have different ways to voice them. For example, you can try the more obvious way, which is to bring out the tenuto notes. For example, F sharp, E, D, E, and then F sharp, F sharp, and then in measure 22, the top notes, D, D, da, D, da, da. But you could also do something different. For instance, in measure 21, I chose to highlight the lower notes of D and C sharp. The lower notes as well. C sharp, D, E, F. Let me put hands together. Of voicing. You have the freedom to bring out what intrigues you the most. By the way, in measure 22, we have a term veloce. That means to play rapidly at a fast speed. If you're not sure what fingerings to use for right hand, here's mine. I'm using finger 2 and 3 for the first trill. And then switch to 1 and 3 for the next one. As we get to the second trill, something happened. The key has changed. We moved from G major to G minor. You definitely want to respond to this key change by showing a different color in your sound. To me, the minor key makes this passage more mysterious and even mistier. Perhaps a cloud moves in and brings some drizzles to the forest. So for this passage, you should be more generous with your pedal. Don't be too clean. I actually quite enjoy the overhang of the sound. I think as long as you deliver the melody clearly, more pedal will not be a problem. In this passage, the right hand has some long trills. At the same time, the pinky also has to play, such as in measure 25. Now, you want to relax your hand and let your pinky go a little sooner so that there won't be too much tension built up. Let me put hands together. And then one more here. In measure 28, we need to slow down and get softer. I recommend using una quarta here to help you soften the sound. And now we're back in G major. For me, I think the next 6 measures are the sweetest moment in this piece. The right hand is incredibly tender. So don't overthink about 5 against 3 or 5 against 2. Just sing your right hand and enjoy the flow of these lovely phrases. In measure 35, we have a small coda. This section reminds me the sound of wind chimes or a music box, really delicate but crisp. And again, we have a polyrhythm of 5 against 4, and this is how you play it. Same as before, the first notes always go together. So, and then you want to play the second note in right hand slightly after the second note in left hand. So you play that, and then the third note goes between the third and fourth notes in left hand. So basically, the first notes go down together, and then the other 3 notes in right hand will go in between the left hand notes. And let me get faster. Did you notice I played my right hand really legato? So that it will sound very lyrical in singing. Then in measure 38, the same phrase repeat 2 times. Here, I changed the articulation on the second time. I played it slightly detached and also played the softer. Just to add some contrast. Then in the next measure, left hand has this beautiful phrase. Use your wrist again to make it really smooth. And then also take your time towards the end of the phrase. your 1/4 down, and then do. Have fun playing. It's such a beautiful piece. It can stand alone by itself as an encore, or you can group it with other preludes as part of a recital program. Either way, it makes an effective performance piece. Even though the polyrhythm is a little challenging, with some practice, you should have it under control. It's actually a great piece to learn how to play two hands independently. In addition, the musical image of this prelude is so evident. It's also a great piece to exercise our imaginations. I think the true art of piano playing is to look beyond the notes written on the score, explore the feelings and expressions behind the notes, and transport your audience to a different place, a magical place that the composer created for us. This is what I always strive to do in every piece I share with you. Thank you for watching this tutorial, and I always love to hear your comments or questions. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.